Hey everyone, so welcome back. And as you know already that the name is changed to Edurise, so you need to make sure that it's Edurise when you search on Google or YouTube. Okay, so today the application which we are going to do is about a Tic Tac Toe, and let's quickly go into it. So for that, first we'll open Codepen. Codepen, you just need to do a codepen.io, and if you haven't signed up or logged in, you need to sign up first and then create a new pen, and there it is. That is the boilerplate or the initial startup, and try to make sure that you save a name. So I'm gonna save it as Tic Tac Toe video. Okay, so in order to have React in this, you need to do a few steps. So first is you need to have a Babel preprocessor. Second thing is you have to import React and React DOM. Okay, so those two things are in there, and you need to have a HTML which is going to have an ID of root, and you can even do this, but okay, so that's enough for the HTML part. I'm going to import CSS, but for JS we need to have React DOM.render app. This is a component which we don't have right now, but I'm gonna create it in just a second. Document.getElement by ID, and here you need to have root, just like this. So this is a virtual DOM rendering, so it's gonna show an error because we don't have an app component. So constant app return h1 hello. So now we'll see hello on the screen, and this is the initial setup for our tic-tac-toe, and or not the tic-tac-toe but the React thing. Okay, so what we will have here is we will have a few components. So in the app component we will have a grid, and inside of a grid we'll have few squares in it. So squares will represent the grid. So I'm gonna have a grid component here, and I'll have to create a grid. So constant grid is supposed to be a function, and it will return a bunch of squares. So okay, the bad part is that we don't have autocomplete in this in Codepen. I'm not sure how we can have it, but if I'm using Visual Studio, I will have a autocomplete of tags at least. Okay, so for this one, I'll have on the top, I'll just have the like a name, tic-tac-toe or something, and here we will have our square, all the squares. Okay, and title, and maybe at the bottom we'll have our result for, and I'll say result. Okay, so this is good, and for the squares we'll need to have a different component. So first of all, I'll tell you that in a grid we will have all the information about the array. So the values of a square will be based on this grid. So let me create or show you that particular thing, or I'll just comment it here. I'm gonna show you the algorithm though in some time, but at this time we have, I'll show you what exactly I mean. So it will be an array of arrays, 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. So this represent our the tic-tac-toe blocks. So if there is a x at this point, so that means that the user has added x here, if it's an O. So that means that some other user or the opponent has added an O here. So I'm gonna create a state here. So for creating a state, I'll have grid value and set grid value. So this is how you use a use state. So for that I'll need to have react dot use state, and this is going to have this particular initial state. So it won't be x, it will be 0 0 0. So this is good. And what happens here is that I'm supposed to, or I'm going to pass in, like I'm going to say that grid dot value of zeroth element dot map. So I'm going to map through the zeroth element and I'll show all the 3 squares. So block return, and this will be square, and we don't have square at this moment, so I'm going to quickly create square. The square is individual block, not the whole grid. Return div or I'll just simply say CO here. So we have a square and it's supposed to show square in just a bit. Okay, so it's not showing it, so I'm going to save it and let's try to refresh it. Sometime if this happens to you, all you need to do is just don't forget to save it and then do a refresh. It might show up if there is no error. So let's see if we have any error. Okay, so we have an error which is I called a grid instead of grid value. So I'll change it to grid value. It might show 3 zeros or 3 O's. Square, square, which is correct, and it is supposed to return that block value map wall 0. This is my bad because it's supposed to be map value a 0th index, and okay, perfect. This is, I don't know for what reason I did that. Okay, so as we see that we have this blocks and which are in a straight line, and if I want to have it in a like a horizontal way, I need to have a div which is going to have a style of display flex. So this will put it in a horizontal line, and I'm supposed to do this for 3 different grids. So zeroth array, first and second. So this will be our block, and let me quickly add some styling which I already have. So you will have this Codepen, so you don't necessarily need to look at those things because this is just a style portion of it. So okay, so now I need to make sure that I add classes to it. So outer is going to be for an outer part of the whole squares. So div, I'm going to have like end the div tag, and I'll put this inside of this div, and I need to make sure that there's another one which I guess outer will work here. So let me add class name outer. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have something right there, but I have a block as well. So there is a block as you see here, so it is supposed to go inside of square. So class name equals to block. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have something, okay, which is good, and center is to bring the whole thing in the center. So for that purpose I'll need to have another div which will be outside of this outer div. Okay, and I'm going to take the whole outer block from here to here, cut and paste. I'll quickly format this JavaScript so that it looks nice. And okay, so that div tag is supposed to have a class name of center, so we see that thing in the center. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, and now let's dive into the logic. So first of all, what we need here is on clicking something, I want it to convert to X or 0, X or O, right? So for that reason, I need to have an update grid because grid depends on this value. So I'm going to create a function which will call a const update grid, and I'll have to pass it into the child, which is a square, this particular component. Okay, so I'll have update grid is supposed to update whatever component or whatever block it is, right? So for that reason we need three parameters at this point. The first one will be the index, the first index, so I'll name it as first, second index, second, and the value. What do you want to put in, right? So is it X, is it 0, or okay, there are just two values, so is it X or 0, right? So that's it. And if I have a will need to update the whole state, right? So for that reason I'll need to have new grid equals to dot 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 grid value. So you are not mutating the state by doing this having a shallow copy, and new grid first and second. So you are editing a particular place based on the square that is clicked, right? So is equal to value, and this value is provided from the square as well. Okay, so or you can even have this value from the tone. You don't necessarily need to have a value. Okay, so set grid value to new grid. Okay, so I'm going to ascend update grid equals to update grid. So I'm passing in a callback function, and I'll need to do for all of them. So this one is gone, this is gone, and inside of the square I'm going to destructure it. I can even have props and have a props dot grid update grid. I can do this, or I can have directly as an object and have update grid. So I can use the grid update grid directly. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'll need the first, second, and the value. So for that reason I'll need to pass in the first and the second as well. So first will be the index, and index will always be a second value equals to, let's have X here. Okay, so the first one will be, as you know, that the first one will be the first element, or the for let me show you this. So this is the index, or the position is 0 and 0. So 0th element, or the 0th element of the first array, and inside of that first array this is the 0th element. So the first will be 0 always, and the second will be the index of that particular map. So I'll have an index here and index. For the second one I'll have first as first element of that array, and second will be the index of this particular map. and or the not the map but index. So if you don't know this function, I just want to let you know that when you do a grid value and dot map, if your grid value is an array and if you do a map, you are supposed to add a function inside, right? So when you add a function, the 0th element here or the first parameter always will be your value of that individual item in that array, and the second will be the index at which position that item is at. So we can use that index. I just want to let you know I want to make this video as short as possible, so for that reason I am running a little bit, not a little bit, quite a lot. But if you are stuck somewhere, if you have any questions, you ask me in the comments and I'll be more than happy to help you. And you can even message me on Instagram, I'll be quick to reply there. Alright, so if I go to value, value will always be 0, and square update I'll have first as 3, second as index. Alright, so if we don't have index at this point, I'm going to create index. It's not supposed to be block, we'll have something different there, but index it is good, and value will be we'll just have x. So based on this, I'm going to have on click here, on click, and what this on click will do is update grid, and in this update grid, the first element first, second, and value, right? So we have these things. So based on this, we will be updating the parent. So first, second, and value. Okay, so if I click here, nothing is happening. So let's even see if something is changing. So alert updating. Okay, so at least we know that something is oh, there is a update grid. I'm hoping that I'll use update grid, and I have update grid as update grid. Oh, okay, so it's updating and it's not updating it by some value. Okay, so it's because we don't have this. Where is that? We have a 0 here, so that is the reason it's not updating. But if I add value, so value will be block here, or value will be not a block but a single value. So this is going to be a, what should I name it? I should name single value. Let's do this, single value. All the blocks will be single value now, and this value will have single value. Okay, this looks good, and this is good, this is good, and I need to update this not to value but to something else, so it updates, and I'll show here value, so at least I see what's inside. So initially it should be 0, I guess. Okay, and if I click on it, it's going to turn to X for all of them, correct. So at this point we have it changing, and what I need to put here is I need to put a logic behind the when it should change to X or 0. So before that, what we need here is we need to determine whose turn it is. So constant turn and set turn, react set use state, sorry, and this turn will always be an empty string initially, and when, or I should say it should not be empty string, we can have it as X. We can give this guy the first turn always, and we'll have a logic here that if the turn is, like once everything is done, update turn. Okay, so if turn equals to X, set turn to 0. What happened? Okay. Set turn to O, or set turn to X again if it's not X. Okay, so this will keep on changing our turn. So based on that, we can pass in another parameter which will be turn, and I'll copy it to all of them. So it will be turn here as well and turn here as well, and I'm going to take that turn in the destructuring, and based on this turn we won't be having this as a static value, we'll have a turn. So the first turn will be for the X, the second turn will be for 0 or O. So you see this, it's changing based on X and O, X and O. So for some reason this is the third row is not working, is because there could be, or there should be, yes, see this first is 0th element, first element, and this should be second element. For some reason I did the same mistake when I was coding it for the first time. I don't know why. Okay, but this is working, but you'll see it won't stop changing, right? It will keep changing even though the game is stopped, and it's not even determining the result because we haven't created that. For that reason, what we need to do is, I have already created like a function for determining the result. So I'm going to show you that result in just a bit. So this is a tic-tac-toe grid, and every time a grid change, we are supposed to run a function which is going to check the winner. So that function will have 8 checks. So these are the checks, and I'm going to draw down which checks they are. So first check, second check, third check, all the horizontal ones, fourth, fifth, sixth, these are the vertical ones, and we have 2 left which are the diagonal ones. So this function is going to check all these, and if it matches, it's gonna throw a function and throw an object which is going to say match true, and also send a character. Which character was that? It could be either X or it could be O. If it doesn't match, it's gonna send, and that too after everything is done. So that means that each and every square is filled. If it doesn't match, it's gonna throw match false. And in other conditions, when it's incomplete or you can proceed further, it's just gonna return false. So based on this output, we can keep adding, or we can complete the game by saying that, hey, O has won or X has won. So this will be the logic. I won't be coding the logic, but I'll go through the logic in the code which I have. So see you there. Bye-bye. Okay, so this is what is determining the result. So check if it's a match, you pass in a grid, and based on this grid, you do a few checks. So few are 8. We do 8 checks. If it matches, you return it. If it doesn't, you go for the second, third, fourth, fifth, and till the last one. And none of them match, you are supposed to return a false. So that's what this function does, and it utilizes another function which is a 3-place check. So that 3-place check takes in 3 items as a parameter, and it determines based on if it's 0, it's gonna return it because we don't really want that, or it is going to return a true thing. So okay, this is a match as true, and you're supposed to return a character. Which character won? So we will directly be using that particular function. So for that reason, I'm going to have a check if match inside of the update grid. So check the result. So every time we are supposed to check a result. So constant result equals to that's so many typos. Okay, so check if match and new grid. You should not take this particular grid value, the grid value which is a state. You should always take the set grid, because as you already know that grid as state is an updating state is an asynchronous function. So maybe you might get a old state which is not the latest one, so, and you don't get accurate result. So for that reason you should always take new grid, and you check if the result dot match is equal to true. At that point you are supposed to set a winner and stop the game. Alright, so for that we will be doing in a bit, and constant winner equal winner and set winner equals to react dot use state, and initially it will be an empty string, and whenever there is a winner we are supposed to set that as a winner. So set winner equals to result dot character. So as you already know that we are returning a result dot character if we are returning it as a true. So this character will have X or 0 or O in it, not a 0. If it's a 0, it is an empty place. Alright, so we have a checker as well, and let us also console log it every time. Console.log result, and let's see where it is. Console false, false, X, this is false, false. See, this is true and it returned X. So X is a winner and this is done. So based on this we are supposed to provide an output, and also we are supposed to stop this from happening. We don't want this to be updating every time, right? So how do you do that is you just put a check here inside of this update grid function. If winner, then return. So it is quite simple. It's going to call this function, but it is going to have a base case, or you can even disable this whole grid. So this time I'll see it happening, but it won't update anything else. See, it is, I'm clicking it, but it's nothing is happening, and this is because we are having a return statement if the winner exists. Okay, so this thing is pretty good, and I need to just put one thing. If it's a 0, if the value is 0, I'm just supposed to show an empty string and not a 0, because we don't need a 0, we just need an empty string. So for that reason I need to go into square. We'll go as value equals to 0. If yes, show an empty string, else value. So this is going to change the 0 to an empty string or empty space, and next thing should be resetting the grid. So for that reset, if I have done something here and I don't want it, if I click a reset, everything should go away. So for that reason I need to have a button which is just gonna be below this. So div reset and div. So let me create a function here, constant reset grid. So in this grid I'll have, first of all what I'll do is I'm going to reset the winner, because if I have a winner I am not able to update a grid, right? So I'll reset or set winner equals to empty string, and also set grid value to the initial value. So I'm going to just copy and paste this value, and this should be good enough to get a empty, like an empty box again. So now all I need to do is just to call this reset function. So on click, reset value, that's the one, right? The reset grid. Okay, so reset grid, and I need to call that function, and let's check it. 0x, okay, reset. All right, this is working good. Let's try again. Okay, perfect. Now what I need to do is show the winner. So if someone wins, I'm going to show a win here. So first of all, winner is not equal to 0, or I should say winner, or the winner is, and I want to show this h4 only when there is a winner. So winner is not equal to empty string, and this. So what this is going to do is, if I have a winner, show that the h4, or just show nothing. So I'm going to have this, and I should have winner is, oh, perfect. And if we want to show the tone on the top, so I'll have a turn here, and that will be turn as turn. Okay, so we already have this turn as a variable, and yep, this is looking good. All right, so we have a winner. So that's pretty much it, and it could be that you have a stalemate. So if I have this x 0 x 0 x, so this is a stalemate. So to handle this stalemate, we can do something. Oh, okay, so it stopped at one point. I don't know what reason. Okay, let me quickly take a look. Or I'll just have to refresh it. Hope I saved it. X 0 x. Okay, this is not going to go further, but if I reset it, I'll even have to reset. I'll just reset the turn as well. So reset, set turn to x, and let's see how it goes. Okay, pen is saved, and what happened? Yeah, sometimes if this happens, all you need to do is just write something in this JS, and it will come up again. Okay, so there could be stalemates like this, what we are going to come up with. So, oh, what happened? Why is it? Oh, okay, because this x won. Oh, I don't want that guy to win. X 0 x 0 x. For some reason, I'm just making this guy win. That's so dumb of me. Okay, 0 x 0 x 0 and x. Okay, x is the winner again. Yeah, so let me quickly see. O's turn, X turn, O's turn, and X turn, O's turn. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 steps. So one more thing that we need to do here to handle one case is we need to handle the stages, how many stages we have. So to handle that stage, update grid. Alright, so one more function which we have to create to check if all of them are filled with something or some value. We need to do one more check, or at least we need to, because we need to stop the game if all of them are filled, and if it's a stalemate we need to stop the game and tell to restart the game. So for that reason I'll need to check the zeros or check the values. The const check if array filled equals to, I'm going to pass in grid, and what is this gonna do is for let I equals to 0 to I less than 2, I plus plus, for let j equals to 0 to j less than 2, j plus plus, if j is the 0th element, so grid j and I is equal to 0, return false. If grid is filled, return true. If winner, or check if grid is filled and grid value. Okay, so it should return, so extern is equal to 0. Comment section, this is just to show you how React works and how this game works, because this is more of a project based learning. We also teach people, if you want to join our chat community, and we'll give you projects to work on and get better at React, and also help you in the interviews to know what type of interview people are having in React, what questions are crucial while taking an interview, which companies you can look for while you are looking for a job, whether it could be React, Angular, Vue. We can give you guidance in all of them. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and if you have, please like it. It helps us a lot. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye and have a good night.